Children, and welcome to your maths lesson today. Now in today's lesson, what we're going to be learning how to do is we are going to be developing our understanding of halves and quarters of different quantities. Okay, so you may want to pause the video now and you may want to practice your 3 times tables. I've left a little link for you at the bottom of the screen to a Numberjacks video. And the song is very catchy indeed. So go and have a little follow of that link and you'll be able to sing along with the Numberjacks to your 3 times table song. Okay, also you might want to work out the answers to each one of these questions. So we've got 3 times 5, or 3 groups of 5. We've got 27 divided by 3. You might want to make an array for that. And also we've got what is the third multiple of 3. So what comes third in the 3 times table, okay? So you may pause the video now and you can work through those questions and also have a go at singing the 3 times table song. So it's now time for our key vocabulary. Throughout today's lesson, you should be using these words to explain your mathematical thinking. Okay, let's start with our first one. Fraction. Brilliant. Divide. Super. Oh, I think we'll put an action for this next one. Imagine I've got a big circle and I'm cutting it in half. Excellent. And we'll have an action for this next one too, actually. The word is quarter and the action is this. Quarter. Okay, so to find a quarter, we chop it in half and half again. Okay, so let's do that action. Quarter. Super, well done everybody. And we have whole and equal parts, don't we? Fabulous, well done everyone. Okay, let's do the do now. If you, like always, if you've got the worksheet in front of you, then please feel free to do that now. And if you're working on a piece of paper, then that's absolutely fine as well. You can do the do now along with us. Okay, what I would like you to do then is, if you've not got it in front of you, you'll need to draw it out. So you'll need to draw your 40 pencils. Now, the way that I would draw it is just by doing lines, because it'll make it much quicker for you to draw it, okay? So you should draw it in the arrangements that we've got on the screen at the moment. So can you see the way the pencils are arranged? You might want to draw that out now, or if you've got your worksheet in front of you, then that's absolutely fine. You can work from there, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we are going to share these pencils, all 40 of them, between 5 children. And we need to find out how many pencils each child will get. Now, this part of the question is asking us to use grouping to show our working out. Now, we're very good at doing this because we've been practicing grouping throughout the last few weeks, haven't we? Okay, so remember there's 2 ways that we can divide. We can either share it, so we could draw the 5 children and share all the pencils out equally, or we can group them. Remember, we can draw a group around 5 of them and that will give us our answer. So it's asked us to use grouping. So what we need to do is we need to group the pencils into 5s, don't we? Because there are 5 children, okay? So let's go ahead and group our pencils into 5. Now, if you want to try doing this independently, then you can go for it now. All you need to do is pause the video, because I'm going to be revealing the answer now, because I'm going to be doing it alongside the children that would like my support. However, if you feel confident enough to have a little go independently, then you can just pause the video and then you can check your answer by watching in a second, okay? So if you want to pause, you may do that now. If not, you can follow on along with me. So let's have a go at drawing our pencils into groups of 5, okay? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. So let's put a little ring around those 5. Super. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. So again, I'm going to put a ring around those pencils. So I've got 2 groups of 5 so far. Let's keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's put another ring around that one. Brilliant. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another ring around that one. So here we've got 4 groups of 5 so far. Maybe you're already starting to notice how many we're going to have at the end. Because if we've got 4 on the top row, I think we might have 4 on the bottom. Well, let's check our answer just to make sure. Okay, so let's keep grouping into 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. There's another group of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And another group of 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another group. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brilliant. So here we've got all of our groups of 5. Now all we have to do is count them. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 groups of 5. Okay, there are 8 times 5, which is equal to 40. Now, when we're doing our division equation, we must always start with something. I've forgotten. What do we need to start with? Do we start with our part or our whole when we're doing a division? Oh, I can already hear some of you. We start with our whole, don't we? The whole number of pencils that we began with, okay? We start with 40, okay? So the first part of our division equation is 40, okay? We've got 40 and we were sharing those 40 pencils for our whole between how many children? 5. Amazing. So that will be the next part of our division. So 40 shared by 5 children is equal to the amount of groups. How many groups did we end up with? 8. Fantastic, everybody. I can tell you're all great at division now. Brilliant. Well done. Now, if you've not yet written that, please take some time to do it now. So now it's time for our new learning, okay? Now, the question is asking us this. It's asking us to look at the apples and it's asking, what should I do to halve these apples? I've forgotten. What does half actually mean? What do we do when we halve something? What should we do to halve these apples? Amazing. I can hear some of you. When we halve something, we split it right down the middle. So if we were halving this group of apples, we would just halve it down the middle. Then we would have 3 equal apples on that side and 3 apples on that side. So that would mean that we have halved it. Excellent work, guys. Hey, let's look at this image. Here we've got 2 little boys and we've got the apples arranged. We've got a group of 4 and a group of 2. And the little boy in the blue top is saying that he's halved the apples. He's saying that the boy on the other side has got half and he's got half. Let's have a think. Is he right? If he's not right, why? Brilliant. I thought that too. Because look, here, this boy's only got 2 apples. And on the other side, the other boy has got 4 apples. That's not fair. It's not been halved correctly, has it? Because if we look on our last slide, when we had those 6 apples and we halved them right down the middle, it was fair because one side had 3 and the other side had 3. But here, that's not the case. What do you think they need to do to make it fair and half. Excellent. Excellent, you were right. They needed to have 3 for the boy in the green and 3 for the boy in the blue. Brilliant job, everybody. This is lots of different ways that we can show half of 6. Because remember, we had 6 apples and we split them in half. So these are all the different ways that we could show half. We've got our parts whole model. We've got pictures of the apples grouped into 3s. We've even got it on a bead string and we've got it in words too. Okay, so you might want to pause the video and have a little look at those in more detail. Okay, let's continue with our new learning. Now here, the little girl is telling us something. I'm going to read it to you now. Half of my apples are in the bag and half of them are outside of the bag. How many apples do I have in total? Okay, so what we need to do is we need to work out how many apples there are all together, don't we? So we've got our parts and now we need to work out our whole. Now, we need to think about what we already know about halves. So let's think about the apples. When we split the apples in half, we had 3 on one side and 3 on the other. That means that the amounts on both sides was the same. So if she's got half of her apples outside the bag, and that's equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, how many apples will be inside the bag? Remembering that if we've got half of something, it's the same on both sides. Okay, how many do you think she's got inside the bag? Say it now. Brilliant. Well done if you've said 4, because she's got 4 outside the bag and 4 inside the bag. She's got half in and half out. Let's draw this on a parts whole model. Now, I'm not going to put anything in our whole just yet. And the reason for this is because that is what we're trying to work out. We're trying to work out how many we've got all together in total. Okay, so what do we know about the parts? Well, we know there are 2 of them because when we split something in half, we have 2 parts, don't we? If we were to split a cake in half, we would have 2 parts, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to place a number inside those parts, and the number is going to be 4. Why do you think that that number is 4? Well done if you said it's because there are 4 apples here and 4 in the bag, okay? Because we know that's what's happened here, okay? Now, it becomes really easy to find the whole now, because we know that 4 and 4 is equal to 8. Super, well done. Okay, let's move to our next question. Here, we've got 2 children. One of them, the one with the yellow and green jumper, says, I have half of the chocolate. I have 5 pieces. And the other person says, I have the other half of the chocolate. 1 half is 5. The whole is 10. Okay, so remember, if we had 10 all together and we split it right down the middle, we would have 5 on one side and 5 on the other side. So if we were drawing it on a parts whole model, we would have our 2 parts, which are the 2 groups of chocolate that we've got on the screen. Can anybody tell me now how many would go in each of the parts, the amount of chocolate that the children have each? Excellent. In the parts, we would put 5 and 5, and our whole would be 10. Super work, guys. Well done. Because can you see that if we had 10 chocolates all together and we split them down the middle, there would be 5 for one person and 5 for the other person, because that would make it equal. Okay, so when we split something in half, it's really important that we do it equally. Okay, now let's continue with our new learning. Half of the oranges are on the plate. The other half are in the bag. How many oranges are there all together? What is the value of half and what is the value of the whole? So this is another mystery bag question. Let's first of all count how many oranges there are. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 oranges over here on this plate. Now, using what we know about halving, how many do we think are in the bag? Excellent, the same amount. Brilliant. Because we know that when we halve something, it's got to be the same on both sides. The amount on the plate has got to be exactly the same as the amount in the bag. So well done if you said that the amount of oranges inside the bag would be 6. Brilliant. Okay, now what it's asking us to do is it's asking us to find out how many oranges there are all together. So again, I'm going to use my parts whole model. I've got my whole, which I do not know the answer to just yet. And I've got my 2 parts because I've split it in half. And I know that when I halve something, I get 2 parts. Sorry about drawing on the orange there, guys. And inside each of my parts, I know that I've got 6 because there were 6 oranges on the plate. And that I know when I halve something, I have the same amount on both sides. So I know that that's going to be 6 too. Now 6, add another 6 is equal to, or double 6 is equal to 12. Brilliant. Well done. The answer in our whole is 12. Okay, so how many oranges are there all together? The answer is 12 because there are 6 oranges there, and hiding inside that bag there are also 6 oranges. And if we were to count them, let me just draw them now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we were to count all of those oranges, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, there would be 12 altogether. Okay? Now, it's asking us some more questions. What is the value of half? So what does half actually equal? Well done, it's equal to 6 because we know that we've got 6 on the plate and 6 in the bag. So half is equal to 6, isn't it? Brilliant. And what is the value of the whole? Well, it's just the same answer as how many there are all together. So the whole is 12. Okay, here is your talk task for today. So all you have to do now is you need to have a little go at working out the answers to each of these little boxes that I'm underlining now, okay? So each of them match the pictures that are next to them. It's just like the children that we've been looking at having conversations about how many pieces of fruit they've got in their bags, okay? So for example, in the first one, the little boy says, I have half of the apples. Sally also has half of the apples. 2 is 1/2. 4 is the whole. So can you see that when you halve, first of all, the amount of apples all together is 4 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 apples. And if you were to split them in half and give them to each child, they would each have 2, wouldn't they? Okay, so if you were to halve those apples, they would both get 2. They would both get the same amount, okay? So you need to now go through the talk task on this page and the next page, and you can work out all of the answers and really, really show your understanding of halving, okay? You will notice that in some parts, like this one, for example, you've got a question mark. So that means that you might need to draw the bag and draw the amount of apples inside for that one, okay? Off you go, guys. You may pause video and you can have a go at your talk task today. Okay, let's develop your learning a little bit further. Now, we're not going to find halves this time. We are going to find quarters, which means that we have to halve it and half it again. Okay, let's say that. Half it and half it again. One more time. Half it and half it again. So we need to find a quarter of these apples. What does a quarter mean? Well, a quarter means we have to half it and half it again. So if we're splitting something into quarters, we need to think about how many children we're going to be sharing our apples with. So we have to half it and half it again. How many parts have I split that into? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that means that when we split something into quarters, we share it into 4 parts, okay? Because if we share it in half, we have 2 on each side, and if we share it into quarters, we have 4, okay? 4 equal parts. Now we've got another picture to look at. Here we've got 4 children, okay? Because remember, when we split something into quarters, we split it into 4, okay? 4 equal parts. Now we've got 4 children in the picture, and they've all got some apples, and they've said this: we've shared the apples into quarters. There are 4 of us, and we've all got some. But are they right? Well, think about when we halve something. When we halve something, we have the same amount on both sides. We have 2 equal parts. So when we split something into quarters, we need to make sure that each of the 4 parts have got equal amounts. Have they got equal amounts? No, they haven't. I can see the little girl has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apples, and the little boy underneath has only got 3, and the children on this side have hardly got any at all. So what do we need to do to fix this? We need to put all of the apples all together back into the middle. We need to count them. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 apples all together. Okay, so we've got 12 apples all together. And we are trying to split those 12 apples into quarters. And remember, when we split something into quarters, we half it and half it again. Watch my representation as I do it. This will make it really clear. So my whole is 12, and I've drawn that now. When I split 12 in half, I end up with how many parts? When I split it in half, I end up with 2 parts, and they're both 6. Okay, so I've got 6 over here and 6 over there. So 1 half is worth 6 and the other half is worth 6. But I want to find quarters. So to find quarters, I have to half it and half it again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 6 in my 2 halves and I'm going to half the number 6 to find my quarters. Okay, so what is half of 6? Well, we know that from the beginning of our lesson. Half of 6 is 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 3 there and a 3 there. And then I'm going to move on to find half. I'm going to find half again of my half. So over on the other side of the circle, I've got the number 6 and I need to find half of 6 again. So I've got 3 there and 3 there. Now I've got 4 equal groups of 3, and that's just halving and halving again to find quarters. So each of the children should get 3 apples each when we split it into quarters. Let's see. And there we are. Each of the children have got the same number. So number of apples. So that means that they've all got a quarter. There are 12 apples and 1/4 of 12 is 3. Now, let's have a look at this question together. The little girl says, I have a quarter of the apples. How many apples are in the other bags? And how many apples are there all together? So she's got 1 part there. Remember, when we find a quarter, we split it into 4 equal parts. So she's got 1. This bag is the 2nd equal part. This bag is the 3rd equal part. And this bag is the 4th equal part of our whole total amount. So she's got 2. Now, remembering what we said about halves and quarters, remember we need to have the same amount in each of the halves and each of the quarters. Using that information, how many apples do we think are in each of the bags? Well done if you said that there are 2 apples in each of the bags, because remember, when we split something into half or we split it into quarters, we need to have equal amounts, don't we? Okay, so I hope that you can see there that we've got 2 here, 2 in the 2nd, 2 in the 3rd and 2 in the 4th bag, and that would be our 4 equal parts. So now we need to work out how many apples there would be all together. So I'm going to represent this on a parts whole model because we're looking for the whole. We know that there are 4 parts because we split it into quarters, okay? And each of our 4 parts or each of our quarters are worth how many apples? Brilliant, they're worth 2 apples each. Oh, I'm not very good with this pen. 2 apples each. So we now need to work out the whole. So all we need to do is 2 add 2 add 2 add 2, or 2 times 4. So let's do that now. 2, 4, 6, 8. So the answer is 8. There are 8 apples altogether. Hi everyone, this is your main activity. So you're going to be looking at the pictures and finding out the value of whole and value of 1/4. On the next slide, you'll find some more support with the Chili Challenge. Hi everyone, I thought I would just film a bonus slide for you all to help you with the little Chili Challenge at the end of the activity today. So what I wanted to do was I just wanted to give you a little bit of a model of how I would go about answering some of the questions in the Chili Challenge, and I thought we could go through the first one together. Okay, so it says here I've got 8 sweets and I need to find half first of all. So remember, I need to put, if I'm working it out in the way that I showed you earlier, I need to put 8 in the middle of my circle. because 8 is the whole. Now what we're going to do is we're going to split 8 in half, okay? And when we split it in half, we need to have 2 equal groups on each side. So half of 8 is equal to 4. And we can see that very, very clearly on our pictorial representation of the sweets. We've got 8 sweets all together, and if we split it right down the middle, we can find half, and we can count those sweets now, and they are 4 on one side, and there are 4 on the other side. Okay, so half of 8 is 4. Okay. Now, if we know half of 8 is 4, then we can find quarters, okay? To find quarters, all we have to do is half it and half it again. So we've already halved it, so now we're just halving again, okay? Now we have 4 equal parts of that circle, okay? We've got 4 parts of the circle there. We could even do the same with our sweets. We could half it again. We have 4 equal groups of sweets, okay? Now, all we have to do to find a quarter is half the half. I know that sounds a bit weird, but we just have to half the half. So at the minute, our half is 4, so we have to half the number 4 to find a quarter. So half of 4 is 2, and it shows us excellently in our pictorial representation of sweets, because if we split 4 in half, we have 2 on that side and 2 on the other side. So let's go ahead and put a number 2 there, a number 2 there, a number 2 there, and a number 2 there. Okay, so 1/4, which is this part here, one of those quarters is equal to 4. Okay, so 1/4 of 8 is, sorry, not 4, 2. So 1/4 of 8 is equal to 2. Brilliant. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because we can find 1/4, we can find 2 quarters, we could find 3 quarters, we could even find 4 quarters if we wanted to. So what it's asking us to do is it's asking us to find 3 quarters. So what we have to do is we have to count the quarters that we've got. And if we were finding 3 of them, then we would count this number here, this number here, and this number here, okay? Because that is 3 of our quarters, okay? So we would find this number here, this number here, and this number here, and that would give us 3 of our quarters. So 3/4 of our whole 8 is 2, 4, 6. Okay, so it's equal to 6. I hope that that has helped you to complete the chili challenge today. And as always, please show your working out so that we can see how you've gotten to your answer. Have fun with your maths today, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.